Hey everyone, welcome back. Patrick here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the first of my Unity tutorials. Specifically, we're going to be looking at all the different panels in Unity and what they're all used for. So without further ado, I'm going to open up the Unity panel. Alright, so on the left hand side we have our hierarchy. This is going to tell us everything that is currently in the scene. You'll see if I right click in the hierarchy, I can come down to 3D object and add a plane to the scene. And you'll see with it highlighted right now, if I added another object, it would parent it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to deselect with the left button and then select again with the right button and add a sphere to the scene. Okay, now we have two objects of the scene. You'll see that there is a gizmo right here with the Y, X, and Z axis. He's coming towards us. We can lift this up in the air. You'll see that it is a sphere collider. It has a sphere collider along with, if I click on the plane right over here, you'll see that that is a mesh collider right there, which means that they do in fact will in fact collide with each other if we add some gravity or anything like that to the scene. Okay, so next we have a directional light. This is going to function like a sunlight, and it's going to be any color. Over in the inspector panel are all of our parameters for it, and you'll see the inspector panel is labeled right up here. So we can go in if we want to and change the values of that. We could change, for example, we could add some blue to it. And we can add a little green or whatever we want to do, and change all the values around. And if you watched all my earlier tutorials, you'll remember that if you add red and blue together, you will get magenta. Okay. Alright, so moving on. Right down here we have the project panel. This is going to contain all of our assets that we have. For example, sound, and whatever OBJ files we have or whatever we're using, 3DS, whatever format we're using. Okay, next we have our console over here. This is when we start running our game, and we can do log outs, we can check for errors, we can do everything right in the console. So you can just tab over right here to get to that. Okay, our inspector panel, like I mentioned before, this is going to tell us about everything that is within our scene. So we get all of the values that are attached onto it, or components, so we could add more components. For example, onto the sphere collider, we could add onto it a 3D effect and make it a rigid body. And now if you notice, if we come up over here and hit play, it should fall to the ground just like so. And that's because we add the rigid body to a component onto it. Alright, so that's the play that'll get your game going button right up there. Alright, up at the top we have our layers, and you'll see that all these different layers, they basically allow you, just like layers in Photoshop, there's different things that you can kind of turn on and off when you're fiddling with things. Anyways, next to that we have our layouts. You'll see we have our 2x3. Okay, and this is just going to organize things differently and give you a different view. So we have our video game view plus our camera view right down here, and then the other view right down there. And then we have our 4 split. So again, we got the other views available, top, front, right, and perspective right there. So this can be very helpful, especially if you fill out a screen real estate. Then you have tall. This is going to be mostly for mobile development, I would imagine. And finally wide. Okay, and then this wide is mostly going to be for desktop development. Okay, and we'll just go back to default. Alright, so that's it. Aside from that, we also have the game right here. We looked at this view right here a little bit earlier on one of the other screens, but this is how you can tab into your camera view. And again, if we move the camera, which you would do just by coming over to camera, and you can move it down, you'll see it's going to change your camera preview. And if you come over to game, it's going to change that view as well. You can also affect the rotation on it. So if we want to rotate the camera, we could do it right over here. So we could affect that, the rotation on the camera. Run to say 30 degrees. It's going to have you look down 30 degrees. Okay. So that's it for the basics of the user interface in it. We also have the asset store. I did forget and neglect to mention that. We'll go over this a little bit later, but this is where you can come in and start getting assets essentially for whatever project you're working on. Anyways, that's the basics of the Unity interface. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. Thanks again for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe.